Welcome back, you fat skinny degens. This would be episode 210. So apologies for the no special. So the special will probably be episode 211, but there's a good reason. I am in Japan in this very moment. As I'm recording, I'm still at home, and this is the last filler, but by the time you guys listen to this, I'm actually still in Japan on my holiday, on my honeymoon, to be precise. So I hope so far you guys have enjoyed DZ's filler, the throwback episode, which is the very first episode that the Thunder God was on the FireCast. And now for the last filler, I thought it'd be fun to do an interview style episode of two of my good friends who have decided to sell all their stuff and live out of their van and travel around Australia. So, thank you guys again for joining. If you're new here, hopefully we were able to retain your attention over the past couple of filler episodes. But nonetheless, thank you guys for fucking with us. And I hope you guys enjoy today's episode. Hola!
Hey, ¿cómo estás, papi?
How you going, man?
Yeah, we're doing good, bro.
Hello, Tori. How are you, man? Welcome to the show, everyone. I am joined by my good friends, Josh and Tori. Guys, how are you?
Hey, we're great, man.
Good.
We're excited to share this platform with you and just have the chance to sort of show our slice of life to the greater audience. It's nice.
Yeah, it's something I've been wanting to do for a while, but it's really cool as well because I was saying on the podcast yesterday to my brother, there'd probably be so many people around, especially Australia, who have tried to like consider giving this a go, but they're either too scared, don't know where to start. And so this episode, I think, is great for those kinds of people. So seeing, and having two of my good friends do it, it's really cool to see. So the first question, right, that I have for you guys is, how does this even become a thing? Like, whose idea was this, and how long do you have to plan for this trip?
Yeah, so it's strange, man. Like, I've worked in construction for the last 10 years. It's essentially my bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, I've met a lot of young backpackers that come through because construction is obviously an easy way to step foot with no experience and just hard yakka.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to work hard, they'll give you a job the next day. No job interviews, no fussing around. If you want to work for 3 months, they'll give you a job for 3 months and then they'll fuck you off,
Mm-hmm.
And just amongst these guys, they were asking me about Australia, all the things I've done, yada, yada, yada. And then they'd ask me if I'd done, say, the east coast of Australia and if I'd been to Tassie and done the west coast. And I was like, oh, no, not really, man. And then they were telling me what they'd come to Australia specifically to do.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, oh, wow. And I've lived here for so long and I've never really stepped foot in those areas, and
Mm-hmm.
they've traveled 30 hours on a plane just to experience it. So I sort of took that on board and went, okay, I need to see what all the fuss is about, and just stepped into the fire and just let it rip and see what happened.
Yeah, I would say that I wasn't necessarily on board at first. I had to put together like a PowerPoint presentation of all the reasons why we should do it. Because to me, the idea of actually, downsizing and living in a van was not something that I could even fathom. But, I trusted in Josh and, the conversations that he had with people. And now I would honestly I can't believe that we didn't do this sooner, really.
Yeah, right. Because what were you doing for work, Tori? Just so the listeners have a good gauge of like that this is possible for basically anyone who wants to give it a crack. Because you were doing like a banking role, yes? Or
yeah, so I've sort of just flip-flopped between a few different jobs within the banking industry,
yep.
Within the agriculture industry, but sort of more on that admin side of things. So, I've done multiple different jobs, flip-flopped around, and I guess we sort of just knuckled down hard for what I would say a year.
Yeah.
We knuckled down for and just saved what we could, and then set off pretty much.
Okay, great. So because that's the big question on everyone's mind is, right? So you guys, so I know it's still early day in the travels, but you guys are happy with a 1 year of full savings, and this is like you got to like sacrifice, like you got to save hard one whole year. And then did you do kind of the whole like, okay, per day trying to work out your spending, or was it more like, okay, we've got like now a big lump sum, let's see how far we can get? Or have you, because I know you, Tori, you're a type of, you plan very well. So I'm assuming you've planned this shit down to the dollar, right?
Yeah, look, I think we sort of we saved up as much as we could. We obviously had a few other commitments within that time, like we got married and all that sort of thing. So we just tried to split the savings evenly, and then we come to a bulk set of money, and we were like, okay, this should be enough to sort of get us through. But it wasn't just necessarily about the savings. It's about what we do on a day-to-day basis as well to just make that money last a bit longer. So we're, every day we're thinking about budget, and, we really pick and choose what we spend on.
Okay.
It's interesting because obviously it's a big thing, right? And it seems out of reach for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I took a lot of inspiration. I read a book called Vagabonding by Rolf Potts, and it's the art of long-term travel. And what they talk about in that book is he talks about just taking little moments and traveling at your own whim, and taking a mini retirement out of your life to sort of focus on your creativity, focus on life experience, and just focus on the people around you, and short-term relationships, and just really taking every day as it comes and keeping every day as a blessing. And there's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it, right? Everyone travels differently, and you only find your feet by putting yourself in the fire and just sort of, we deal with small challenges every day, but that becomes part of the joy of living, I suppose.
Sure. Yeah. And, too, when it comes to the finance side of things, if we've met so many different people on the road that have such all different ideas of, traveling Australia long term. We've met people with some crazy as expensive setups, and then we've met some people that have just got a mattress in the back of the van. So it's really what you make of it. You can do it on a big budget. You can do it on a small budget. It's just what you prioritize while you're traveling.
Okay, that's fucking awesome, right? So now, the nitty gritty of yous have had this conversation, okay? Josh has somehow convinced Tori to live out of a van for as long as possible. Then, what's the next step, right? Did you buy a van already furbished and ready to go? Did you buy a bit more of a van that needed work, and then you worked on it? Because I know that on socials, Tori, you guys are doing some gnarly work, right? So then how does that go about? What's the next steps after you have both agreed we're going to hit the road?
So just after we were coming out of COVID, we decided we're going to go out for a practice run. So we basically flew to Brisbane, and we went with one of the rental companies called Spaceship Rentals. And they were basically the most bare bones camper van you could ever imagine on, where it was like a Tarago van, and what you done is you pulled up and you would pop the boot up, and then it had this little tent that you pull over the back of the boot. So it was very, very bodgy, very, very bare bones. But essentially the way it works is you're paying to have a car, you're paying to have your accommodation and your transportation. It's all in one hit. So it's affordable to travel, and it allowed us to do from Brisbane all the way to Cairns and just get a taste of what it was going to be like. And then once we done that, we loved the whole process. We loved the whole experience behind it, and the idea of just road tripping and being in a new place every day and just waking up the sunrises, sunset, living it up. But we decided for long term, we needed something that was a little bit more homey, something that felt like it was ours, because it was harder to reset in the nights and to have a home base if, say, we had a bit of rain, say the weather wasn't the best or it was a little bit cold, we just didn't have that sort of shelter and comfort that you'd have in your own home.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the type of van, we sit probably somewhere in the mid-range. We haven't got any super crazy setup. We definitely bought a second-hand, it was an ex-ambulance, to put it in perspective. So a little bit bigger than your Tarago van, but not as big as sort of like a caravan or the big RVs. And we thought about the layout, making sure that it was just comfortable for those wet days, like what Josh was saying, and that, you know, we could cook inside and we could sort of be incognito a little bit. We didn't have to be out in the elements if we didn't want to. So we took all of that into consideration, and we pretty much, built it from the ground up. It was just a, bodgy looking van, and we turned it into something that's now our home. So,
I remember too that Josh told me that that process of building the van really tested the relationship.
Absolutely. I think, it was it's probably the only project, I guess, that we've really worked together. And, Josh being in construction, me being in banking, we obviously had no sort of carpentry experience or anything like that. I was sort of the visionary, and then Josh had to try and execute that. So trying to get two people's brains to work together that, we work so differently, it definitely was a test. I think the whole thing of like COVID and it being during that time obviously didn't help either, because there's, external pressures. And then we're with each other trying to work on this project, and I've got my dad helping, and dad thinks he's the the supervisor and needs to be done this way. So it did cause quite a bit of conflict, but we've learnt so much from that, and we've learnt that we're never going to renovate a house or anything together. So yeah.
It's the moments with the fuck ups, and even simple things where I've singed little bits on the walls, or there's little cracks, or everything then has a story to tell. And it creates character. If I had a bodgy copy and paste, all white format, no nitty gritty, no mistakes, it wouldn't be us.
100%, man. That is so good, man. So what about then? How long does that process take? How long did the building of the van take?
Look, for us, because of all of the, I guess, conflict that it created, it took us probably a good 3-4 years to actually get it completed to where it is today. We could have done it a lot sooner if we sort of knuckled down, but I just don't think our savings were quite there to sort of commit to the big long trip. We wanted to go to Europe and, do other things. So that was sort of just like a side piece amongst everything else that was going on. So I think if, we knuckled down and did it, you could easily get it done in a couple months. But yeah, for us personally, it took 3 years.
It was working through the fire, and obviously coming from, me and Tori come from both very high pressure industries. You have to give a lot, right? And we were very career driven during the process when we were doing the van. So it comes to Sunday. Sunday's our rest day, the day of healing, where we're together and with each other. And it becomes harder to sort of work on the van sometimes, because you didn't want to deal with the conflict that the problem solving and the difference of opinion and all that sort of come together. So it was pushed back, and then we come back to it, and it was pushed back. But one stepping stone at a time, we knocked together, and we're grateful to be able to use it, which is good.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. So is this like a lot of YouTube tutorials, how-to videos, or are you getting a lot of outside help? Like, for example, like Tori mentioned her father, but like, is there any homies that are into carpentry or any auto electricians, or is this like a full-blown YouTube done this basically on your own?
Look, Josh watched a lot of YouTube videos, and there's a lot of Band-Aids that we've had to fix. We were grateful enough to have our friend Minnie help us as well. He built out our kitchen for us, because I think by the time we got around to the kitchen, we were like, we need to get a chippy involved here, because, we've got enough Band-Aids as it is. But for the most part, a lot of it was just YouTube. I feel like the like social media was very different back then. I don't feel like there was a lot of like influencers that, you know, we sort of come across that, you know, outlined how they built this and how they built that. It was just a lot of American-based YouTube videos, which was sometimes quite hard to translate into, you know, materials and things that you needed in Australia.
Yeah,
so Josh did a pretty good job at researching all of that and then bounced things off my dad as well, who's obviously not a carpenter, not an auto electrician. He just has a lot of life experience.
Yeah, I'm very analytical. I like to understand how things work. I don't know if that's part of being a man or just part of the way my brain sort of puts A to B to C together. So naturally, I just take everything in and then put it all together. And there was a few times where things wouldn't work and they get pushed back, but we just kept plodding along and eventually we got it to a manageable point where we were comfortable and we were happy. We didn't have the forward thinking process to build some sort of beautiful 5-star, but it's very comfortable. We're happy with it, and
it's the first time, as I would say.
It feels like it's part of the family.
Yeah. And okay, and then now, so we start building this in COVID. It's taken a while. We're taking our time. We're getting married in between. We're going on holidays in between, but it's now getting to the point where this thing is almost finished. When do you then tell your work, hey, I'm probably not coming back? How far out did you guys then start having those conversations with the workplace? Because I think that's the one thing that everyone is so scared of. It's like, I'm so scared to leave money that's going to come in every week to pay my rent, to pay for food, to pay for bills. I think that's the biggest thing that turns people off, especially in Sydney, where everyone here is so work fucking driven and it's all we fucking do. When do you guys then draw the fucking nuts to go, I'm probably not coming back? How does that happen?
I think for us, obviously, once the van sort of started to come to that completion and we had like a decent amount of money in savings and things like that, we sort of had the date, like you and Chloe were getting married. So we were like, okay, well, that's like that's what we're working towards. After you guys get married, then, you know, we're sort of on the road. It's either now or never. We don't own a property. We'd paid off a lot of our debt. So, you know, we were in the best position possible to, you know, just get it done. I think too, it was starting to get to a point for me personally at work where work was becoming a lot and it was not something that I wanted to do long term. I didn't have the desire to, you know, climb the corporate ladder and all that kind of jazz. So it sort of all just fell into place really nicely. It was hard because we decided so far in advance to do the trip. It was hard going to work and not being able to talk about that part of my life. I waited to about like 2 months before I wanted to leave to actually break the news. And it was quite a difficult conversation to have because, like you said, people don't necessarily understand it and the idea of it is quite scary. But I think ultimately it's one of those, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off. You just got to get it. You just got to get it done, essentially. And for Josh, his experience is probably a little bit different being in his industry.
Where we were lucky where we obviously choice on our end, but we're lucky enough to be blessed where we were staying with the in-laws in a granny flat out the back. So we didn't really have any, obviously we're paying board, electricity, all those sort of overheads, but there's no obligation, there's no fixed term rent or anything like that. And being they're our family, they're supportive of our life choices. So no mortgage, no overheads, no headaches like that. My work was a little bit easier. They used to call me the backpacker. So I was driving the van every day. That was my daily car. So people would see the van slowly transform as I'd come into work week after week after week after week.
So they're seeing you get this thing ready to hit the road.
There was a little bit of a heads up on their end, and obviously I'm happy and I'm proud about what I want to do, and the boys are very supportive. I come from a very supportive environment where everyone's happy for you to get out of the rat race because I've worked with boys that have been doing it for 40 years and then they're not enjoying their day to day, man. And I'm like, look, you've got to go find something else, and then you come back to it. And I think you find distance makes the heart fonder. Only after you leave, you appreciate what you had.
Fucking oath, man. So then what about, so you let work know, right? You hit the road. Describe that feeling of excitement that first week of you guys on the road. I feel like you couldn't even fucking describe that feeling, bro. How was that? Like, were you? Oh, so freeing. Like you were free, basically.
It was such a freeing experience. It was also such a weird, strange feeling because we've never felt like that before. You always have a job to come back to. You know, you go on your 4-week holiday, etc. So it was just such an odd feeling to, you know, get in the car and actually like go and not really have like a plan. It was sort of just, we're just driving until we want to stop and then we'll settle for a couple of days. So it definitely took a little bit of time to adjust. Like whilst the emotions and feelings were high and we were excited and we've got adrenaline pumping and all that kind of stuff, it did definitely come with this feeling of like, wow, like this is, we don't have a house, but this is our home now. So it was sort of mixed feelings. It's sort of not until like, you know, a good couple weeks in that you sort of settle and find your groove because it is a massive, massive adjustment.
Yeah, it didn't really feel like a home straight away, man, honestly. It was really, there was a lot of imposter syndrome. Yeah. Obviously, when we first took off, man, it felt like a big party and we were just going, what? We wanted to just get blind every night. Just go out and
go to 5-star restaurants every night for dinner.
Yeah, and then you realise, oh shit, we haven't accounted for that in the same.
That did happen for a bit, and then we sort of pulled ourselves back, and I think that's just the natural way of how it all is. Yeah. And then after a while, we started collecting little knickknacks and plotting up on our little map of Australia where we've been to, and just hanging little photos of people we've met and animals we've looked after pet sitting, and that sort of made it feel now like every time we hop in the car to sleep at night, we feel comfortable, we feel safe. Yep. And it does feel like our little oasis, which is nice.
So, because that's the funny thing, because I seen you guys, which was a really nice surprise for, was it the last New Year's? Yeah, in 2025. And I've rocked out. You guys were in like a 5-star hotel. You had the spa. And I'm going, what the heck? Like, this isn't fucking van life. So let's explain now to the people, as you just mentioned, Josh, the pet sitting stuff. Is that obviously work you guys are now picking up along the way? And how did you even pick that up without the experience? That's another tricky one.
My beautiful wife here had that part of the trip all sorted. I didn't even know it was a possibility. So she's liaisoned all that with her. She's got very good people skills. And she's very good at communicating over the digital space, which is something I struggle with.
It was honestly just through Facebook. I started, you know, before the trip, I started just like looking and joining a whole heap of Facebook groups just to have, I guess, a community where if we had any trouble, you can sort of go to. Yep. And I did see on one of the van page groups, someone mentioned pet sitting. So I was like, okay, this is strange. Like, what's this about? So then I started looking up pet sitting, you know, Melbourne, for instance. And it was just this whole world of all these different groups of people that were going on holidays and needed their animals taken care of, essentially. So I put together, you know, a pretty good sales pitch, a whole bunch of photos of like all of our friends' dogs. Like even if like I think Dougie and Daisy are even like some of my photos. Like honestly, just we have so many dogs within the friend group. I was like, I'm just going to use this to my advantage. I got Mike and Ash to write us like a reference, and I pretty much just shoot my shot. And sent it through to them, and I got pretty good responses. I think, you know, being able to communicate, being from Australia, being able to provide like a police check helped. I think, you know, there's a lot of backpackers around and they can sort of just go back, you know, home or whatever it is. So I find that being, you know, somewhat of a local, people sort of trusted us a lot more. There was one incident where we hadn't even met the lady. She just gave us the keys to her house, left them in the mailbox. And then we rock up at her house. Yeah. So, you know, I must have put together a pretty good pitch, and the police checks help. So, but crazy experiences. We've had, I think now four pet
We're on our fourth.
Yeah, we're on our fourth pet sitting opportunity now. And essentially what we do is once we've liaised on with the person on Facebook, some of them we've had like a video phone call with, we pretty much just stay at their house, look after their animals in exchange for accommodation. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So
it's been a bit explosive for us as well, man, because like it's even the simple pleasures, bro, where I'll be cruising around the house and they've got some flash vacuum. I go, oh, what's this little thing here, bro? And I'm rolling around the vacuum, and the vacuum's a vacuum that mops the floor at the same time. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know this was a thing, you know? So we get to live how they live for a short period of time, and people live so differently, and people live in ways where I never even imagined living, you know? So that itself gives us little experiences. And while the way people live isn't always how I'd want to live, it does give me a nice little contrast, and it lets me decide what I want and what I don't want.
Yeah, correct. That's just an awesome way to kind of compare lifestyles, essentially, too. Like that's really cool. But it
has helped us work out how we sort of want to live once we finish this. When we settle, it has provided experience that we would have never got being at home.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, fucking oath. Yeah, so what about, so just for the listeners, right? Again, I'm trying to ask questions as if there's a listener who's been considering this, but they're a bit too scared.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this episode's a real, more of like a nuts and bolts of the nitty gritty. And then in the future, we can do another episode where it's just funny fucking stories. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But so with the pet sitting stuff, you mentioned this is more of a, you come watch the animals, you got free range of the home while we're gone. Is there then a payment? Are you sending invoices, or is it just more of a, you can use all my shit, look after the pets, please, and then when I get back, continue on your way?
Yeah, look, for us, we haven't been charging people, but we have been, I guess, offered or asked, what we charge. But I think for us, we're sort of, happy to just use their space, use all the things. Don't get me wrong, we're making the most of it. We're using their shampoo, their conditioner, all their spices. So we're making the most of, the stay there. But there definitely is, paid opportunities in it. We may seek to do that. We just haven't really, I guess at the start, you don't really think about that. We're like, oh my God, we just got this sick apartment in Melbourne City. Yep. Why would we charge people, But you definitely can. And I think that's something that we'll consider going now into the sort of the second half of our year trip. Funds are a bit lower,
Yeah, correct.
So we may need to start, charging for things like that. And I think that would be a really good way that people can sort of fund, or top up the piggy bank along their trip, is doing things like that, because it's crazy. It's a whole thing out there, even dog walking. Sometimes it's even just looking after them for the afternoon. There's a lot of national parks in some of the areas we've been in where, people can't take their dogs into the national park. So people are wanting, just them to look after it for the day, and they'll pay you. So there's definitely so much opportunity in it, but it's honestly all through Facebook groups. There is an actual website. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but you've got to sort of pay to have your listing up there. Oh, okay. So my recommendation would be, like, don't go into any of those. I think it's like Trusted Pet Sitters or something like that. You don't need to pay for anything to put yourself out there. Honestly, it's just having good communication skills and joining all the groups on Facebook, creating your news feed to be sort of a bit more of a community to suit the lifestyle you're doing. So you see opportunities, like we've had job opportunities come up and all sorts of things. So it definitely is possible to pick up work and top up your funds along the way. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So far we're about 6 months into the trip. Yeah.
Yeah. 6 months.
So is that the only type of work you've done so far, or has anything else other than the pet sitting popped up along the way?
So we chose to do our trip counterclockwise from what people normally do, because we wanted to go to Tasmania.
Yep.
Tasmania is off the beaten track a little bit. It's not on the general loop that people would do. So as far as I know, if you're flying over from Europe, if you're flying over from the UK, if you're flying over from Ireland, they will generally come and they'll either do the east coast of Australia from Sydney to Cairns and then maybe back down to the Great Ocean Road at Melbourne.
Yep.
Or they'll do the west coast of Australia, which is from Perth all the way up to Exmouth. So they're generally the two spots that people do. And the reason they do that is as you travel on your trip, there's sort of berry picking jobs that pop up.
Yeah.
There's farming opportunities that come up. All these things are seasonal. So they're looking for an influx of workers straight away. They want you to come in. They'll let you stay on the farm. You'll work for 12 hours a day for 2 weeks.
Yep.
That'll give you pocket money. They feed you, they house you, there's showers, all that shebang, and then you move on. Because we went to Tassie first, we haven't come across any opportunities with the fruit picking.
Okay.
Just because we're out of season. So we are open-minded to that. Obviously, we've got the van so we can stay on the farm, and that's something we are looking forward to. I've had opportunities doing my job, scaffolding, and through that I've inquired and I think they'd give Tori a job doing admin work at the same time. So people, if you tell people you're willing to work,
they'll give you
and
a go.
You tell them you want to work and you want to make a buck, they're very receptive to that, man, and it translates well. But that we haven't come across that yet. We're hoping, so because we worked from June to November, only for 4 months of the year. When tax comes back in June this year, we should get a good tax return, which will lighten the load on the wallet.
Yeah, of
course.
course.
So we tried to plan it as if we weren't going to have work. So I think if we were willing to settle in places for, a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two, there probably would be a little bit more opportunity for work. But because we've sort of planned the trip around not having to work, we've sort of not really dove into some of the opportunities that we've seen. But nonetheless, I think, we've sort of found our feet and got a good groove now that if that did pop up and we did want to settle somewhere else, we would probably take up that opportunity. Just feels like there's not enough time. I know obviously we've set a year to see everything, but Australia is bloody huge. So there's sometimes we're like, I don't even know how we can commit to staying somewhere for 3 weeks when we've got still another 30 hours to get, to WA or to, Darwin, for instance. So it's a bit tricky to navigate, but we'll be a bit more open-minded now being on the second part of the trip.
Yeah, interesting. So do you think that'd be a good tip for people who are considering to do this? It would be save as if you're not going to work. And then if you do find work along the way, that's just extra pocket money for the wallet, essentially. Yeah.
Look, I think depending on sort of time, because, sometimes time's not on everyone's side. We obviously had the ability to save for a little bit and not have any overheads or anything. My advice will always be just bite the bullet and you'll make it work because, wherever your eyes are open, there's going to be opportunities. But ultimately, if you can save up and, go without having to work, I guess that would be, the most ideal situation for everyone. So I don't know. What do you think? Because your opinion might be different to mine, Josh.
No, I agree. Yeah. I think the reality is in the fire, you'll always survive. Yeah. And that part of the journey is to give yourself the confidence to know that no matter what comes at you, you will get through it because there's a lot of fear of the unknown which controls us in everyday life. And the reality is that when push comes to shove, we're all very strong and we'll all get through it. Look, we live comfortably. We eat very well. We're not giving away parts of our diet and parts of just the things we see value in life. But the reality is, if you really wanted to do this trip and eat sarkata and canned beans and cheese and tuna, you could do the whole trip and it would cost you nothing. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So 6 months in, whereabouts are you guys right now? Which state?
We're in Perth City.
Yep.
We're about 20 minutes from the city centre. We're in a place called Nedlands.
Mm-hmm.
We're pet sitting a 3-year-old Staffy.
Yep.
His name's Dougie.
There you go. Wow. Okay.
It's an old money area, so there's a lot of rich old homes here, very similar to the Blue Mountains as you'd see in Sydney.
Yep.
But very close to the CBD. So
okay, interesting.
There's people with elevators in their house. It's a very older demographic.
Yep.
So it's very imposter syndrome here.
Yep.
But we're comfortable. And it's nice to have a base, especially in the city, where we can sort of settle in. We get hatch up on our washing.
Yep.
We do a few nice home cooked meals where I've got more than one set of pots and pans.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, just reset and unwind.
Okay, so 6 months in, we've made it to Perth. Has there been any major issues so far with the van? Has there been major breakdowns? Has there been a tow truck to come save you? What is that? How has that looked so far? 6 months in, going to the other side of the country.
Thankfully, we haven't had any sort of like flat tires or breakdowns in the middle of nowhere. But we have had mechanical issues. I think one of our biggest expenses has been repairs that we've needed to do to the car.
Okay.
I think the way that it's worked out has sort of been in our favour. So we get to Adelaide City. We're hearing this noise in the car, and we're like, this doesn't sound quite right. We pushed it on for as long as we could, but before crossing the Nullarbor, we were like, we have to get it looked at. Like, there's not a chance that we can cross the Nullarbor because, we are going to have to, if we go on the Nullarbor and we break down, I don't know how we're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
So, we go to the mechanic, and it turns out that there is like a $2,000 issue wrong with the van.
Oh.
So we get there. He tells us, 2,000. Josh is seeing stars. Josh can't even, like in like a cartoon where like a character gets put on the head and they're just seeing stars and everything's like, that's Josh, right? It was, because obviously that's such a big hit, and we just didn't plan to have that big of a cost. And it was just a small noise. We're like, how bad can this be? So then we drop the car in. It's like, I think 8:30 something in the morning. And then the guy's like, yeah, it'll be done end of day. And we're like, oh, okay. We rock back up at 5 o'clock, and he hadn't even started on the van. Mind you, this is our house.
Yeah.
This is where we live, We don't have anywhere else to go. So we're like, okay, like we'll just go get it out. We've got push bikes. So we're riding our push bikes. We get something to eat or whatever. And then it gets to 9:30 at night. And we're like, okay, well, it's pitch black now. We're sitting at a skate park in the bowl because it's cold. And then the guy rings us back, and he's like, okay, like, I'm nearing done, come back, whatever. We get there, and he's like, while I was fixing this one issue, I've fixed a couple other things for you. So it's actually going to be $2,500.
Oh.
So we're like, okay, an extra $500, no worries. It gets to 11:30 at night, and he finally finishes the van, and then we're off on our way.
Oh, my gosh, man.
Yeah. Such an experience, but I'm thankful that we weren't stuck in the middle of nowhere. But it is what it is. It was bound to happen at some point. It happened in the best way that possibly could. It just was a bit of a shit go.
Yeah.
The dollar bill on it, and being stranded, I guess, and not really having anywhere to go until 11:30 at night.
Oh
so
gosh, man, that's fucking crazy, man. So
again, it sucks.
So for you guys listening, these are the things you have to consider. Taking these things into consideration, right? But that's why you got to try prepare as much as you can for these types of things, right? So
it definitely, and I think too, I guess our rookie error on our end was we didn't shop around, we didn't ring up different mechanics or anything like that. We had the ability to, we had the time to, but we just sort of were like, okay, this guy can get it in, let's get it done, and we sort of got a bit. I guess fucked over with the price a little bit. He wasn't as transparent.
Yeah.
Still did a great job. Still was very thorough. But we could have just shopped around a little bit more.
Yeah.
And done a little bit more research. So, but definitely it's something to plan for. Everyone that we've met on the road has said, this was early on in our trip. I remember one couple that we met said, just wait for it because it's going to happen. And, you've got to plan for it because it's just the nature of when you're driving the car.
Almost every day. Yeah, correct. And smashing the K's on the car and stuff as well.
Exactly.
So I've been sent a bunch of questions from our listeners because we posted some stuff in our stories.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read these questions out and what do we have here? So the first question was, what made you guys decide to live in a van and travel Oz? So this is very, we touched on this kind of stuff at the start of the episode, but what was, I guess, the main reason? Was it that mundane work life that makes you go, fuck this shit?
Yeah, I think the element of being stuck in this mundane, 9 to 5 sort of era was just very, it was quite overwhelming to think that that's all that life has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for us, it was just very much like like I said earlier, it's either now or never. We don't have responsibility. We don't have a house. My parents were also selling their house.
Mm-hmm.
So it meant that we also weren't going to have anywhere to live.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of just all aligned. I think maybe for Josh, the realization of wanting to, do it came a lot sooner than it did for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have in a desire to explore. And that exploration comes from little things where, like, I'll go to the pub and I love a chicken schnitzel. No, chicken schnitzel is going to be the best, but I'll order something in hopes that it is better than the chicken schnitzel, and that thrill, that thrill excites me. It gives me purpose. Look, I've just grown up in the suburbs of St. Clair my whole life.
Yeah.
Got a tight-knit community there, very close family, very close friends. It's very comfortable for me, and I'm happy to always have that space.
Yeah.
I just feel the desire to have a look at what's out there and understand and just feel like I can survive by myself with my wife, my beautiful wife, Tori, and just have that self-confidence within myself. And this trip has given us a lot of that. It's been as rewarding as it has been tough in terms of going from working 50 hours a week and then spending the afternoon with each other to now we spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in each other's space. And it's a very small space.
Yep.
But it has brought us closer through the fire and the flames.
Well, that can lead me into the next question. Another listener says, what have you guys learned about yourselves since living this lifestyle?
Wow, that's actually a really good question. That's a hard question too. I think for me, it's taught me a lot more like patience and to really dive into creativity. I feel like, I can be a bit of a stress head at times. So, working my job, it was a very high pressure job and I'm pulled left, right, and center that I don't really have the energy to, lean into the hobbies and things like that. So I think for me, it's taught me how to slow down, how to, give time to, hobbies. Like I love my coloring in, I love reading, love making my little TikToks and things like that. So, it's taught me a lot of patience. It's also taught me a lot about communicating. Josh and I, like you said, going from not really spending a lot of time together to spending 24/7 with one another, you sort of have to be able to communicate and work through issues pretty quickly because you don't necessarily have the space to just,
let it air
go into
out,
a separate room and there's no time to air it out.
Yeah.
So we, have learned a lot about, communicating with one another and just allowing that time. So I think for me overall, it's just patience and allowing time and communication. Right there.
Yeah, for me, look, I lived a very structured life before I went in the van where everything was, chores were all done with convenience in the case where my food was as simple as it could be, as quick as I could make it, so I didn't have to do it for as long. I wouldn't experiment with cooking because I didn't have the time to fail. I just wanted to slap everything together how I knew it, and then that would give me as much free time as I could have in the afternoons, I suppose.
Yep.
But now I've gone to love having slow mornings, slow afternoons, slow days. Look, I'll sit there and I'll cook for an hour, making a meal, and I'll just slowly chat to my wife, put some music on and just slowly plod along. And it brings me so much joy, and it's never a joy I thought I would experience or even saw in my horizons.
Yeah.
So it's just been nice unwinding and cooking with purpose rather than cooking for efficiency.
Yeah, wow. So that's the big one, I think, is that especially for us Aussies and Sydney siders, it's just you don't realise how fucking bang, 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 bang all of us are all the fucking time. It's like everything
you don't have the time to slow down.
Yeah, like everything has to be done now and quick, and but it's like, why are we like this? Like, you know what I mean?
I know. And I think the interesting part too is, you know, when we've sort of, you know, finished in New South Wales, you know, finished in Victoria, even Adelaide, I guess, was still quite a busy city, but coming into WA, like everyone is slowed down. Even in Tasmania, everyone is slowed down. You can go for a walk and people will have a chat with you.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's not the rat race of Sydney. And that's really nice to see, I guess, that side of things is just, there is people out there that are living a bit of a slower life, and it, you know, it can be done. It's just, I guess Sydney's not necessarily the place to be for that, because Sydney is the hustle and bustle. That's where you're into this 9 to 5 and working and rushing and traffic and all that sort of stuff.
Someone says, what are you doing for money? Obviously, we spoke about that with the pet sitting, possibly, fruit picking and stuff like that in between the off seasons and things like that. Yeah. Someone says, how do you handle things like showers and the laundry? So this is probably very similar to trying to get pet sitting gigs to really make use of the showers and laundries.
Honestly, trying to think, you know, obviously when you're in a house, the decisions of like, oh, where am I going to shower? Where am I going to go toilet? Where am I going to fill up my water? Where am I going to do the dishes? None of that is even a thought, right? It's just all very convenient. But, you know, for us, often we have to work around, you know, when we're going to shower, when we're going to, you know, where we need to park to be near a bathroom. For showers, we've been fortunate enough that we both value the gym. So we have made, you know, I guess work that into the budget. So we have been able to use, you know, we go to the gym, we use the showers essentially. But there has been a lot of places that, you know, we haven't had gyms. So I guess we really rely on, you know, outdoor showers at the beaches and things like that. The aquatic centers are always really good. You know, they're usually only like a couple $2 to get into. So that's a really great option. Don't get me wrong, there definitely has been days where we've been pushing our luck and we haven't had a shower for a couple of days and the baby wipes have come out. But for the most part, we've been, you know, we've showered, and laundry is very similar as well. Like there's always a laundromat. Like we've seen so many. It's a bit more obviously on the expensive side, but I guess like you need to have like clean clothes. Like there's no other option. We don't have any other ability to wash clothes. So usually we just, go to the laundromat, and then we spend a full day at the van hanging our laundry on trees and like full setup, like full setup.
We don't like putting our clothes for the dryer. No. We've got a little bit of a collection. There is a few perishables in there, but generally we try and hand dry stuff. Look, what we can do is obviously our car's 6 meters long. So if we're having a few bad days or there's not much sun, we can wash it. We've got like an indoor clothesline we can hang up, and then as I drive, it sort of blow dries the car as if you had the fan going. So it's very survival instinct. And like Tori was saying before, to rehash your other question before, one of the biggest things I've learned is decision fatigue's a real thing, man. So like at the start of the trip, I was trying to count every cent, count every dollar, really like fundamentally figure out exactly how we're going to do everything and what the best way to do it is. Because that's what I do in Sydney essentially. But then you don't realise, now you've got to think about a bathroom, now you've got to think about a shower, you've got to think about what you want to eat, you've got to think about your laundry. Your brain doesn't have the capacity to fundamentally analyse everything to the lowest common denominator. So you've just got to learn to be a bit more loosey-goosey with everything. Otherwise, it creates an internal stress bubble within you.
100%. So then what is the most annoying part of living in a van that people don't talk about?
Probably, even though we've spoken about how good it can be, being with each other 24/7, I think, is probably one of the most, not annoying things. It's just probably one of the, I guess, the hardest things. You know, you go from having, you know, independence, you go from being able to, do your own thing, or, see your own friends, have your own phone calls, etc. To like sharing everything. Everything is shared.
Yeah.
So that can get a little annoying at times, especially if, I'm having a bad day and, we just aren't on the same page, or if Josh is having a bad day, or, there's just so many different factors into it. But, other than probably being with each other 24/7, which is a good thing and a bad thing sometimes, it's probably just honestly not having a bloody bathroom. That for me, like, that is just, having to use public toilets. And I have a bit of a fear of public bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
There being spiders in there, or being junkies that, sit in there and,
waiting to grab you.
Yeah, honestly, it's happened a few times where I've walked into the bathroom, there's been a bike in there, and I'm like, I am not going any further. So yeah, probably on like surface level, the most annoying thing for me is not having a bathroom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about you, Josh?
She's right, man. Look, we're on when you sit in there and because you can't fill every day with 100% excitement. So naturally, what your brain does is it looks for stimulus elsewhere. So I could be laying there, relaxed, on my phone maybe, or reading a book, and then Tori will be doing something, and out of the corner of my eye, and it's almost subconsciously, I'm like, why is she doing it like that for? What a silly way to do that, And then, look, you bite your tongue, but I think sometimes it's hard to learn to just not get involved in everything, because it doesn't need that way, and that's been one of the biggest lessons we've learned along the way, just to learn to mind our own business at times and learn to come together when we need each other.
Yeah, for sure. And then someone says here, how do you keep warm? I'm going to assume the van is nice and warm, right? And insulated.
So the van's fully insulated. It was one of the first things we done. It's actually very warm inside.
Yep.
We had a few cold mornings in Tasmania, but we're sleeping with just one doona, so it's not like it's not a big setup.
Yep.
And I've got like ventilators, so we've got like an air vent on the roof, so we get a nice bit of airflow, so it's not too stuffy. And a couple fans just to circulate air in the nighttime if we feel. Look, it feels like the air gets stagnant sometimes.
Yep.
So the fans aren't just to keep us cool; it's just to stop the air from feeling heavy and dense, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, we've been trying to chase the sun. So, the way that we've done it, obviously we've had some places where we've been where it's quite cool. But for the most part, like, we're trying to sort of sit at that, like, in the 20 to 25 degree sort of places. So we've thought about that, and we were smart. So we could ensure that we weren't going to be, too hot and cooking in the van.
Yeah.
And then that we weren't going to be, freezing. So
we've got a fireplace in the place we're staying now too. So we've had that on 24 hours for the last 2 weeks.
Got our electricity bill. So
Thanks for looking after the dog, but my electricity bill's $9,000 this month.
Yeah, the heater's been on. Like, the doors are open, mind you, so the dog could go out for the toilet, but the heater's cranking. So we make the most of the pet sitting opportunities to be sort of at that comfortable temperature at all times.
For sure. And I've got 2 more questions here before we will wrap this up, and I'll let you guys get back to looking after your staffy. But someone says, where do you have showers other than the caravan parks? We spoke about the gym and the aquatic centres and stuff like that. But he also says,
so even to touch on that, as we've come into Perth, man, they do. It's weird. We haven't seen anywhere else in Australia, but they do. They do outdoor solar showers, so it's heated. It's heated showers outside, so it's like a hot shower.
Nice.
And then as we were going through some of the rural towns, man, there generally is like, there's little places you can have showers where you pay like a $2 coin, sort of like music festival style, I guess. And then that'll give you 5 minutes of hot water, which 5 minutes is just enough, I think.
Yeah, to quickly get the job done. Okay.
There's plenty of options.
Okay,
sure.
Great.
We thought it was going to be worse than it was.
Yeah.
We haven't had any dramas, which has been good.
Okay, well, so the same person also then asks, what are the best items that have multiple uses in your van?
Oh, we bought a big power station sort of thing. So it's a big power bank essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, we're solar charged. The van is solar powered. So,
mm-hmm.
There is times where we're not always guaranteed to have sun. So
mm-hmm.
we brought a big power station that can pretty much charge my laptop, my phone. It has a light as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It charges the fan.
It charges an iPhone about 105 times before it goes flat.
Okay.
So it's got a bit of juice in there.
Mm-hmm.
You just plug it in the wall, it charges for an hour and a half, and then that's sort of our backup power. So if Tori wants to use a laptop, we can bring that with us. It's fully portable.
That's probably been the best investment, I think, that we've gotten. It's gotten us out of trouble multiple times where, we've had rain for a week and we're not getting sun. So therefore, we don't really have the ability to charge anything off the car.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably been the best multi-use investment that we've gotten.
I wheel it into the gym with me in a dolly, like the grandma put their groceries in, and I plug it in and I train for an hour, and then I come out and I've got about 5 days worth of power.
We took it into a library once, and the lady asked if we were moving into the library. Just this big bag. Like, do what you got to do.
You gotta take the free power when you can, man. That is fucking awesome. I love McCare too, because I know you're just gonna strut your stuff in there with that dolly.
He doesn't care. Yeah, he doesn't care at all.
Oh, fucking hell. And the last question we have here from our lovely listeners, thank you guys for sending in your stuff. Last question. Someone says, what is the biggest misconception about van life?
I think the biggest misconception is that it's all, beautiful scenes. It's a big holiday. You're just out there living your life. Like, don't get me wrong, we are living our life, and I am so grateful to, be doing this rather than, sort of going to work. But I guess, what I post on socials is all the highlights. There's also a lot of, I guess, like lower lights and things that, challenges or wet weather and, sort of bad days or things go wrong, like the car issue, the mechanical issue and things like that. So I think, the big misconception is like it's one big holiday, when in reality, we're sort of just living our normal day-to-day life. We're just having to do a bit more of the meticulous things, like think about showering, think about laundry and all that, without having the convenience of a house.
Yeah, I'd say, like, as a society, we're sort of predispositioned to, react in that 4-week holiday period or 2 to 4 weeks, whatever everyone gets with work. And the whole idea behind that is you go on holiday, you switch your brain off, they drive you from A to B, they serve you alcohol at the place, you're eating 5-star meals. There's no problem solving in place at all. So you go there and you live for 3 weeks, you switch your brain off, you don't have to think about work, don't have to think about nothing, and that's where the healing happens, right? We're traveling, which I would say is different from a holiday, where every day we're problem solving, every day we're going over hurdles, and that's the only way you can go for a prolonged period of time. Because if we were just having a 50-week holiday, we would get 5 weeks in and have no money left.
We do as well. We use the pet sitting opportunities as our holiday.
Yeah, correct.
So I guess whenever we're in like a place, we might eat out a little bit more, or we might, like do an activity or, go to a couple bars. So that's, I guess, how we still, have the time to switch off is, when we're in houses or apartments or whatever, we really make the most of that time. But I guess that's probably the biggest one. The biggest misconception.
So that's the thing. So for you guys listening, remember too that, it isn't a holiday, a big holiday per se. It's more of you're trying to escape the mundane rat race, but you need to do that at the cost of problem solving every day. Even if it's minor, you still got problems to solve to get along through your trip.
Yeah, and decision fatigue, it's a real thing. So I know, like, from the outside in, and even, I guess, what, from us thinking about the trip, we were sort of like, it's just going to be, like, cruisy all the time. And don't get me wrong, we have days where, we just sit at the beach all day, and it's amazing. Like, I love that. But there is the hard days that come with that as well. And the pressure that it puts on, your relationship, you don't have that, I guess, community of, going and seeing your friends and, venting to them about how you're feeling or anything like that. So, it's just puts a lot of pressure and a lot of strain on things, especially if you don't have, I guess, the patience or anything to communicate with one another. So I'm thankful that, Josh and I have done a lot of work on, not letting those bad days on the trip sort of, break down what we've built, we've built up.
Yeah, correct. No, that is honestly awesome, man. Guys, where can the people find you? What are the social handles? I'm going to have them all in the descriptions anyway, but let the people know where can we find you and keep up with the travels.
So we use Instagram and TikTok. So on Instagram and TikTok, the handle is downunderdiaries, all one word, and then 3 underscores.
Okay. So as in one word, then the underscores at the end.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
So and TikTok and Instagram slightly different. Instagram's more of just like our dumps of the places we go, and then TikTok's where I've been putting a lot of like our cost breakdowns, our the apps that we use, how we save money, and all that jazz. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. But again, guys, I'm going to have that stuff in the description. Guys, Josh and Tori, thank you so much for taking the time. This is awesome. Hopefully, we get a few more followers towards your page, and hopefully, this kind of answered some questions for people who have considered this but are a bit too scared to take that leap. Hearing it firsthand from people who are doing it is always the best way to learn something.
For sure.
And I do hope in the future we can do this again, but with my 2 co-hosts who aren't here, Joey and DZ. I'm sure they'd love to hear some stories. And the next time you come on, that can be more of a fun one, funny stories, goofy things you've seen, people you've met.
We'll start keeping a note to journal of all the stories, and we'll share them when we've returned.
Please, McCandles, write down funny stories, please, because I'm sure the people want to hear this shit.
There's always something that happens to Josh.
I'll tell you what, man. Look, when we go out in the middle of the day, right, and the people that are outside in the middle of the day from 7 to 3 and aren't working, they're all the weird cunts, bro. They're not working out of choice.
We've got plenty of stories, so we'll save those for another episode.
Thanks for giving us the platform. It's nice to rehash all this stuff as well, because it creates a conversation where me and Tori can bounce off each other.
Yeah.
And it's nice to speak about stuff when it's front of mind. That way it doesn't just get washed away.
For sure.
So thanks for giving us that platform. We appreciate it.
No, always, man. We're definitely going to run this back. Like I said, I'm sure DZ and Joey would love to be on here for the next one. Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to leave you guys to it. I've got to fucking edit this thing before I get on a plane myself and take a holiday. So I'm going to smash out the editing for this, and this will be out, guys, in about 3 weeks. I will message you two when this is about to drop anyway.
Perfect.
And Tori, if you can, do me a massive solid. Send me a photo dump, man. Things you want me to put up on the YouTube video.
Yeah, I'll do that now. Then you can get it all sorted.
Yeah, definitely get a few photos of like you and Josh as well. Maybe like a selfie with the van or something. That'd be great for the people to see.
Yeah, perfect.
But guys, thank you guys again. Thank you guys for listening to the FireCast. And Josh and Tori, I love you guys. I will talk to you guys very soon.
Awesome, man. Enjoy your honeymoon, and we'll keep in touch.
Awesome. Love you guys.
Love you. Bye-bye.